Hey YouTube, Wayne's Fish Tanks 99 here, back at it for another video. On this week's video I'm going to be going over the top beginner aquarium questions that I found that most people have. So I've just been looking on a couple of websites, just looking like what sort of questions beginners have like in the aquarium hobby when starting off. So hopefully this video will help out some people starting off their new tanks, or just anybody that has questions about certain things. So yeah, so I'm going to start off with number one, which is how many fish can I keep in an aquarium? So that's probably the most popular question, just because that's what people want. They just want to put as many fish in a tank as possible. So most pet stores will probably say about 1 inch of fish per gallon of water. So that means in a 20-gallon tank you can have 20 1-inch fish. I find that's a little bit high. I'd probably rather 1 inch of fish per 3 or 4 gallons. So rather than 20 fish, you're maybe only keeping 5, 6. You don't want an overcrowded tank because it's just going to cause problems for you in the future. You probably want to start off with maybe a little higher of a number, and then maybe as you get more experienced you can do 1 inch of fish per 1 gallon. But I would recommend maybe 1 inch of fish per 3 or 4 gallons. Number two, can I use normal tap water when filling up an aquarium? So it's obviously different for saltwater or freshwater aquariums. Freshwater, you can definitely use tap water. The only thing you are going to want to do is use a dechlorinator. Because most people's water, unless it's well water, has chlorine in it, because that's what your city uses to get like all the bacteria and any sedatives or whatever that's in your water. It gets that stuff out. So obviously you're going to want to use a dechlorinator. And then for salt water, you're not going to want to use tap water. You're going to want to hook up an RO unit to your or an RDI unit to your tap water system, just to make RO water, because it takes out a lot of the sediments and a lot of the things that aren't supposed to be in your water for a saltwater tank. And of course then you're going to need to add salt to it to make it salt water. Next I'm going to do how much water to change for water changes and when. So generally I like to do 10 to 20% water change once a week, or twice a week, once a week or one every 2 weeks. And then what I usually like to do is once a month or once every 2 months to do 50 to 70 to 75% water change, just to put new tank water in the tank. It really helps with getting rid of any bacteria or any ammonia. It just gets rid of all that sort of stuff. Number four is how much do I feed my fish, when, what food to use, etc. So for how much to feed your fish and how often, what I usually do, I usually feed my fish once a day, sometimes twice a day, however much food they can eat in about 2 minutes. So when I do that, I don't feed my fish daily. I usually do about 5 or 6 feedings a week, just because I find like a lot of the time there'll be food scraps that float to the bottom or whatever, and that way the fish can go down and clean up that sort of stuff as well. And I mean, if you look at it in nature, they don't eat every day, 3 times a day either. So I just try to keep it as natural as possible. And then when it comes to what kind of food you should be feeding, there's a whole bunch of different varieties, from pellets to flake food to for some fish you can do live feedings like other live fish. You can do bloodworms, brine shrimp, a whole bunch of stuff. So it's not really one particular set of food per fish, but I mean obviously you don't want flakes that are going to stay at the top for bottom dweller fish. You're going to want something that sinks down. But there's lots of different options to choose from, so you guys can experiment and read reviews on fish food and stuff like that. Number five is going to be how much upkeep is there for an aquarium. So I already went over water changes about once a week, a couple times a month. You're also going to have to obviously feed daily, and you're going to have to do equipment maintenance on your tanks. So sometimes you only have to do equipment maintenance a couple times a year. Other things like your filter you might have to do weekly or every 2 weeks or once a month. It all really depends on what you have. With me, I have sponge filters in most of my tanks. So what I do is every time I do a water change, I clean half the sponges, and then I leave the other half stay dirty with all the beneficial bacteria on it. And then the week after, when the bacteria is grown back up, then I clean the other one that's more dirty. Number 6, where can I get information from if I have a question? So you can definitely Google whatever question you have. You'll probably find other people with similar experiences. Aquarium community forums is a big help. That's where you're going to find most of your information. Lots of people have probably had the same question that you had, and people have answered it before, and there's not just going to be one answer. There's going to be like lots of different opinions, things that have worked for people and things that haven't. And then of course you can always try on YouTube as well. People like me can hopefully help answer your questions, or I'm sure somebody's posted a video on something close to what you're asking for. And then last but not least, I would say a lot of people ask, well, how do I know how long I should keep my lights on for? So it kind of depends for every aquarium. A lot of people want to keep it as natural as possible and keep the lights on maybe 10 hours a day, but I find 10 hours is too much, just for me personally. I usually do about 6 or 7 hours. That way there's not too much light to cause algae spikes or algae blooms or something like that, and it's not just on for 2 hours. You want to kind of recreate like a fish's natural environment, but I generally keep mine on for 6 or 7 hours. And if you ever notice that you're getting a lot of algae, maybe cut it down by an hour or two and see how that plays out. But generally, if you have a planted tank, you're going to want to keep your lights on for a decent amount of time, whereas if you have no plants or anything like that, you can get away with, you can not have lights on at all and just use natural daylight, but if you have plants, you're definitely going to want to use some sort of LED lighting or T5s or halogens or something like that, just to keep your plant growth healthy. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope I answered some of your questions if you guys had any. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave it in the comment section below, and I can always make a part 2 of this video. If you like this video, please leave a like. We'll see if we can get 20 likes on this video. That'd be great. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks guys. Bye-bye.